Have you ever listened to someone and just felt that what they were saying was real? You just knew it. And on the flip side, have you ever heard something that was technically correct, but it felt completely hollow? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. What separates language that feels genuine from language that just feels fake? The source material we're looking at introduces this really beautiful idea that language has a grain. I love that. Think about the grain in a piece of wood. It shows a texture, a direction, a natural flow. It's something that goes way deeper than just the words themselves. Okay, so language has a grain. But what does that actually feel like? Let's break down the difference between words that have this living texture and the ones that just fall flat. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the difference here. Authentic language isn't just a bunch of words strung together. It's an overflow of who you are. It has a living rhythm because it shows how something was actually lived. But inauthentic language, that's assembled. It's a collection of words put together for a specific purpose, to persuade you, to sell you something, to make you fit in. It's a lifeless pattern, not a pulse. And this quote just nails that feeling, doesn't it? We've all felt this before. It's that uncanny valley of communication. All the parts are there, it looks and sounds correct, but there's no life, no breath behind it. It's just an empty shell. To really get to the bottom of this, we've got to go a little deeper. So let's bring in a couple of philosophical heavyweights, Heidegger and Nietzsche, and see how they help us understand what it truly means to speak with your own voice. First up, we've got Martin Heidegger. He had this special term, Dasein, to describe the unique way that we humans exist. See, we aren't just here, like a rock or a plant. We are aware that we're here, and we can ask, what does it mean to be me? And that simple ability to question our own existence, that's the starting line for an authentic life. But let's be honest, most of the time we aren't living in that deep questioning state. Instead, we fall into what Heidegger called das Man, or the they. This is when we speak and think based on what they say, or how one is supposed to act. We end up just repeating the language of the crowd, and our own unique voice just gets totally lost in all that noise. So for Heidegger, the big takeaway is that authenticity isn't about some kind of brutal honesty or oversharing everything. It's actually a journey of return. It's about pulling yourself out of that anonymous chatter of the they and finding the courage to speak from your own experience in your own true voice. And then we've got Nietzsche, and he takes this whole thing a step further. For him, true, authentic language isn't about just accurately reporting some objective fact out there in the world. Nope, it's way more radical than that. It's about creating your own truth, using your words to actually shape a world that reflects your unique point of view. But here's where our whole story takes a really fascinating twist. What happens when you try to do the exact opposite? What if you try to strip out all that personality, all that perspective, and just write with pure, cold objectivity? Well, the result is probably not what you'd expect. The author of our source material here describes their own writing process. They deliberately try to remove all emotion, all personal feeling. The one and only goal is accuracy. Sentiment is just a distraction, something that gets in the way of being clear. And their method for doing this is, well, it's almost robotic by design. As you can see, they use multiple AIs, synthesize all the data, and then apply the bare minimum of edits. The whole point is to completely erase their own fingerprint, leaving behind nothing but pure, objective information. Logically, this should work, shouldn't it? This process should produce the most neutral, unbiased text possible. It's been scrubbed clean of any human feeling, so the result has to be pure information, right? Wrong. And here's the punchline. Despite this incredibly rigorous process to be objective, readers kept coming back with feedback just like this. This is clearly biased. I can tell exactly what you think. The attempt to remove the author's voice somehow made the perceived author scream even louder. How was that even possible? This whole paradox forces us to ask a much, much deeper question. If the writer took out all the emotion, where was the reader getting it from? Well, the answer isn't in the message itself. It's in the mirror. And here is the big aha moment. The author realized that the readers weren't just decoding the text on the page. They were projecting their own assumptions, their own idea of who the author was, onto the text. The words just became a blank screen for the reader's own movie to play out on. You see, communication isn't a one-way street. It's a creative collaboration. The writer sends the words out, sure, But those words land in the completely unique world of the reader's mind, all their memories, their beliefs, their feelings. And it's in that interaction that a totally new meaning is born, one the writer never even fully intended. And this brings us right back around to Nietzsche. His famous statement that there are no facts, only interpretations, isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. The author's experiment shows it happening in real time. The fact of the objective text was instantly transformed by the interpretation of the reader. So, a great way to think about your language is like this. It's a two-way mirror. On one side, it reveals your world, what you're trying to say. But on the other side, it reflects the world of the person who's listening, showing them their own assumptions right back. So, where does all this leave us? If our words are constantly being bent and reinterpreted the second they leave our mouths, what could authenticity possibly even mean anymore? This leads us to a much deeper, more powerful definition. True authenticity isn't about achieving some kind of perfect, crystal clear communication where nobody ever misunderstands you. That's impossible. Instead, it's about the unique rhythm of your being, that grain being strong enough to survive the journey into someone else's world and still echo with a little trace of where it came from. And this totally reframes how we should think about being misunderstood. It's not a failure of communication. In a way, it's actually a sign of success. It means your words had enough life, enough energy in them to provoke a reaction, to be engaged with, to be wrestled with. Lifeless, hollow words, they just get ignored. So when you boil it all down, it's this simple. You speak from your world. They listen from theirs. Real authenticity isn't just in what you say, it's in the vibration that's created in the space between the two of you. It's a resonance, an echo, a shared moment. And that leaves us with one final thought to take away. Authenticity isn't something you just have, it's something you do. It's the unique energy you put out into the world with your words. So the real question for all of us is, what rhythm, what grain, what unique vibration does your language carry?